Hi, everybody. Stephanie
Hello.
here to interview our very good friend, Ellen Kay, fabulous clarinetist from New York City. We've been loving working with through a number of seasons now. Very funny, very brilliant, and very lovable. Ellen Kay, hi.
Hi, guys. So great to see you. It really is nice. We're connecting in these weird ways, but it's always such a pleasure to see people again.
But
I really felt it. I really felt like I needed to be in Madison a couple weeks ago. I really felt like I I was there. I felt in a way that I was there, and it was weird that I wasn't. Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about the last couple of months, or gosh, it's been more than 2 months. How have you been doing? How's your family? How have you been?
Thanks for asking. I'm doing well. I mean, I would say that there are some great days, some good days, and some days that are not so great because, I'm sure this is the case for you guys and for anybody else you've talked to. It was very confusing when this all began. Well, I was going to play a concert at my university at Stony Brook University in Long Island. I think it was March 9th or 10th. We do these concerts we call Starry Nights, where we mix students and faculty, and we had a program prepared to play. In fact, we were going to play an all-wind piece by Raff. Do you know that piece, Stephanie? Joachim Raff, a Sinfonietta for a double wind quintet. A really lovely romantic period piece, very
No, no.
Mendelssohnian, really nice. We were set to do that, and then each one of the faculty members was going to play a short piece, a miniature with piano on the program too. And it was that very day where Stony Brook said, no more. And we never played that concert. And I went home and I have not been back to Stony Brook since that day. And everything else, every other concert, every other festival has gone away since that time. So for a few weeks, I was kind of, is it floundering or foundering? I always get those words confused. But
Maybe a little
anyway,
bit of both. Maybe a little bit of both.
well, perhaps, yeah. I didn't quite know what to do. Did you guys have that experience too? Yeah,
Very much
yeah.
so.
So, yeah, I mean, after a little bit of introspection and figuring things out, I started to practice again. Um, all the way through, I was working with my students, and that was a big adjustment too, adjusting to teaching through Zoom and also another platform called Play with a Pro, which I found pretty useful. Um, that was a big adjustment because I had not really done many online lessons before, and now I've taught about 150 hours of online lessons. So that was an adjustment, but I think in a way that was the thing that got me through that initial difficult period was the connection with my students, being able to continue some kind of work and interaction with them, to have a chance to talk with them, to talk about the problems, to see how they were dealing with everything, to see how they were feeling. Just like you're asking me now. I was really worried about them. This is very tough, not just for us, but for everybody involved. But I think since that time, I've sort of gotten into a little bit of a groove. I'm certainly doing projects, things that I normally wouldn't have time for. Um, I'm very fortunate to have my wife here with me and my son. He lives down the street and he's with us every other day, my younger son. Um, so it's great. Like one of the bright lights that we get to spend time together regularly. Um, and we're doing a lot of cooking. We're doing a lot of listening, watching of things, catching up on things, catching up with family. I'm sure you've done this too with family and friends. We have what they call Zoom tales now, right? Cocktails through Zoom. I think
I'm
you're
happy
right.
to be here. Nobody in my family has gotten sick. We're so grateful, knock on wood,
Right,
but
right.
um, even in
And
spite of Francesca being in the hospital every
mhm,
day,
I know, amazing.
boy,
Yeah.
we've been lucky. So far, so good.
We
We
have been,
have been,
and
yeah,
something else I think about is that we as musicians, we are we have trained ourselves to be with ourselves for a long time. So I think most musicians at this level are comfortable working on their own, being with themselves. Yes, we don't have concerts. Yes, we aren't able to play with our colleagues and our friends, but we have something that we can do on our own that is really fulfilling, and we can get so much done. And for a lot of people, they're lost right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I think it's similar to what we're going through now. We do have that. You're absolutely right. And we have this privilege. I mean, we're lucky. I mean, Stephanie, you're a retired professor now, officially. You don't look like you're that old, but nevertheless, you are. But
I put in my
you
time.
certainly did, yeah. And we're putting in ours. But I mean, I'm so grateful to have my academic positions. I feel incredibly blessed and lucky to have that. But yeah, I am very aware, as you were saying, Stephanie, I am very aware of my privilege on so many different levels now, made more apparent by the Black Lives Matter movement, which has become such an important element in society now. I mean, just so important. It's such a unique and powerful moment, I think, and has really affected me. I'm sure you guys feel the same way. But I mean, as if I may say, as white people, we don't think about that. We haven't.
I know.
But that's not the experience of everybody in this country or around the world. And that's, I think, the most welcome revelation for us who have experienced privilege as white people, that we have become finally much more aware of what these people have suffered, the true suffering, and the constant concern and worry that people live with. So, I regret that that we haven't really attended to it, for 400 years. I mean, there have been important moments in history, obviously, which have made a difference, but I think it's an important time, and I'm determined myself to learn from this experience, and it's going to be a long-term project for me. I've already dug in. It's very important to me, and I'm sure that many people feel the same way.
That's a great segue to ask him about what he's been thinking about and reading and learning.
Yeah, so tell us, what have you been?
Okay, well, I have my books. I have a couple books right here. First of all, I finally got around to reading Michelle Obama's book, which is absolutely wonderful. I mean, she's a great writer, first of all. She's a great personality. I loved reading about her background growing up in the South Side of Chicago, and also reading about her husband, too, because it was really fascinating for me to read, as it always is, about life in the White House. And life in the White House as a black family was particularly interesting, especially these days. And then, once the George Floyd thing happened and these protests started happening, I realized I need to do much more. I need to learn much more. Somebody recommended this book. She is a sociologist at Virginia Commonwealth University. Her name is Tressie McMillan Cottom. The name of the book is Thick, and it's kind of she's a brilliant writer and brilliant thinker about a black woman's experience in America on several different fronts. And I learned so much from it. I mean, it's really, she's funny, first of all, but she gets right in there, and you realize, you learn things that you had never, ever thought about before. One mistake I made, you guys will probably find this funny. I thought, what the heck? I'll get some Curacao. You know what Curacao is?
That blue stuff, right?
It is so blue, right? And it's hideous. It just looks hideous. And I have to say, it tastes pretty hideous too.
Yeah, but you just put it in stuff, right?
You can add it, and it just adds this brilliant blue color, but it's not a color you find in nature. You know what I mean? It's not something you find naturally. So I put that aside.
This creme de violette is made from violet flowers, right?
Yeah.
That's the what it's supposed to taste like, and it looks like it, and it's a very natural looking color, so it has no relationship to blue Curacao, none whatsoever.
That sounds good. use this time to expand yourself, to learn different things. So I have my students learning like Lester Young, an early 1930s, 40s tenor sax legend, by ear. So they literally listen again and again to YouTube videos. And on YouTube, you can slow the playback down to 75%, 50%, and 25%. I don't know if you realize that. It's very helpful. So when you're learning something by ear, you can slow
Didn't
things
know
way
that.
down. Check it out on the YouTube screen at the bottom right, the little gear symbol. If you click on that, you can see that you can adjust the playback speed. So I'm having students really listen, use their ears, not use the printed page. And I love doing that myself. I learned this from a jazz teacher I had many, many years ago, and I've sort of revisited that. So I'm doing some of that. I'm playing some Charlie Parker written out, transcribed solos. I'm playing some, I want to learn the John Coltrane Giant Step solo. It's like a legendary solo from a very difficult jazz tune. But I'm also playing a lot of Baroque music. I'm playing a lot of Bach, even before you guys asked me about Bach. I'm playing a lot of the Telemann flute fantasies, which work beautifully on clarinet.
Oh,
And
beautiful on clarinet.
they're great. There are 12 of them.
Yeah, 12 of them.
So,
Genre studies.
right, we can practice not just the style, but the transposition. We can actually take like something written in A major, we can play on the A clarinet in C major. But it's complicated. You have to get used to that transposition. You're actually reading in bass clef, but 2 octaves higher. I have a feeling I'm getting way too esoteric now.
No, that is so great. I love that. What a good idea.
Well, I mean, I think it's a really truly educational thing for people to do. I mean, I want my students to understand Baroque style because who loved Bach? Mozart, Beethoven, Brahms, Schoenberg, Schumann, Mendelssohn, everybody. I mean, probably most composers even now would say Bach is in their top 5. There's so much to learn from the guy. So I think that's important. That listening to Lester Young making up, like improvising a line on a tune that I've gotten to know quite well. I think I'm hearing it correctly. I think I hear a G minor arpeggio, but it's not exactly the way I thought it was. So, like you say, instead of hearing like a fourth, that like 4 notes away from each other, it turns out to be a sixth, 6 notes away from each other. But in the context, you can't always necessarily hear, even if your ears are pretty decent. I like to think my ears are okay, but this is it's kind of a rude awakening. There's always more to learn. There's more to learn.
More to learn. More to learn.
Right. Well, and this is one of the truly great things about being a musician, I have to say, is that we never stop learning. We don't want to. And I tell my students this all the time. You're leaving, you're graduating from here, but you're never going to stop studying music, I hope, right? It's the same thing with recording.
That's the thing about great music is that, the music, when you're talking about Bach, you're talking about really great stuff, the music is greater than our ability to play. And there is more there than we can ever possibly, that can be expressed by anybody in any single performance. And that's,
right.
I think that the more experienced we get, the more we realize that. And the more we realize that, I mean, Stephanie, you were talking about this the other day. You're playing along and you realize, oh, this phrase could go that way instead so easily.
Yeah.
Well, you have to choose one way right then and there.
That's right. That's why we call it a record. It's a record, a recording is a record in a place and time in our lives, right? So that's why, what's his name, Glenn Gould, made 2 recordings of the Goldberg Variations, and that's why it's so interesting to listen to those 2 recordings, because the 1955 version is a record of that place and time in his life, and 1981 or whatever it was, you probably know, something like that, in the 1980, I think, completely different. Yeah. We have to remember that. We can't expect it to be perfect. There's no such thing. It's just a particular time and place. And we can't hope for any better than that. I just hope that people are okay, first of all, with the fact that a clarinetist is playing Bach, because Bach didn't know from clarinet. unfortunately. I believe firmly that if he did know the instrument, he would have written for it because he wrote for just about everything else.
Mhm.
He wrote for just about every other keyboard and wind instrument, brass instrument, and string instrument that he knew at that time. And, you know, although Bach did love to travel, I don't think he ever came to a place in Europe where the clarinet or the chalumeau instrument was being developed. And so he didn't really know it well. If only he had.
Well, if he had known you were playing, he would have loved it. That's
Oh,
for
you're
sure.
so sweet. That's so nice of you, Jeffrey. That's so nice of you.
Well, I
Thank you.
think we're going to have to wrap it up
Yeah.
today. I'm
Well, this
sure
was a
you'll be
pleasure.
available for future endeavors and for Bach and Dynamite. Over the course of this season, we're going to keep some things going. So,
Well, I'm always here for you guys. That's for sure. I
thank you.
love you guys. I love BDDS, of course, and I miss it. And any way we can remain connected, I'm totally open and ready
All
for
right. That's really great. Thank you so much, Alan.
Thank you. It's
so
been
Can't
a
wait to
great
hear your
pleasure.
performance.
Stay well, you guys.
You
Thanks.
too.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay.